Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 11 starts now.
Was it misdirected anger? Several people target a local township meeting tonight, angered over the likely impending deaths of several swans.
President Biden defending his decision to pull out of Afghanistan as the Taliban takes control of the country.
All coming up, but we're going to begin here at 11 with breaking news just in. The Associated Press reporting the Biden administration will soon recommend that most Americans receive a COVID vaccine booster shot 8 months after their initial vaccine.
The New York Times is reporting the third doses could be available as early as mid-September, with the first boosters likely to go to nursing home residents and healthcare workers.
Now that comes, of course, as the TCF Center is set to reopen in the morning to start giving booster shots to people who are immunocompromised. Mara McDonald live at the TCF Center. Mara, for now, though, these boosters will only be available at the TCF drive-thru, right?
Correct, Evan, and only for Detroiters, and you absolutely have got to have an appointment in order to get in here. Some other things for you to know, only open to Detroiters. Let me show you. The TCF vaccination site is gearing up to get shots in arms again. Here's how the city is executing this. It's open to Detroiters only who are immunocompromised, aged 12 and up, who have been fully vaccinated for at least 6 months. Detroiters will not have to provide a doctor's note in order to get that booster. Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan laying out the plans.
We have to act. The people who did the right thing went and got their vaccines up front to take care of their health. If you've got a weakened immune system, we need to be there for you to make sure you continue to be protected.
Last week, the city's health department citing rising COVID numbers in a city that already has a low vaccination rate to begin with, wants people putting masks back on indoors in public places. Duggan warning that the spike Florida is seeing right now could easily come our way if we do not take action.
It's the unvaccinated people in this country. There is an enormous river of COVID transmission among the unvaccinated. And unfortunately, it allows for things like the Delta variant. And who knows if we get another variant, because if this keeps spreading, it's a matter of time before this virus mutates, and we're talking about a different kind of variant.
Back here live. So right now, these COVID boosters are only going to be available at the drive-thru at the TCF Center. You have to have an appointment. The city says as the weeks go on, they anticipate having more locales that they are going to be able to offer these booster shots at. Once again, you got to have an appointment. So all you have to do, get on our website, clickondetroit.com. We got the number up there. And right now, only open to Detroiters and only open to those who are considered immunocompromised. We are live downtown tonight. I'm Mara McDonald. Back to you.
Appreciate the information, Mara. Thank you.
Chaos at the main airport today in Afghanistan's capital as people try to leave the country. Thousands of Afghans desperate to escape Taliban rule, rushing onto the tarmac, some even clinging to the planes as they took off. Now more American troops are arriving to try to secure that airport and help U.S. and allied civilians get out as President Biden defends his decision to withdraw.
The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated.
President Biden admitting the collapse of Afghanistan happened rapidly, but standing squarely behind his decision to cease U.S. military operations.
I cannot and will not ask our troops to fight on endlessly in another country's civil war.
The president blaming the Afghan government for not standing strong against the Taliban.
Afghanistan political leaders gave up and fled the country. The Afghan military collapsed, sometime without trying to fight.
Now, 20 years after U.S. forces launched Operation Enduring Freedom, the Taliban has taken back Afghanistan.
America already spent enough time in Afghanistan. They need to leave.
Spreading fear among the Afghan people.
Yesterday I have lost everything. Like I don't feel secure in here.
Despite unverified reports the Taliban has executed surrendering Afghan forces, a Taliban spokesman says Afghan civilians are not in any danger.
We are assuring them that there will be no risk to their property, to their lives, to their honor.
The U.S. now racing to evacuate embassy personnel and Afghans who supported the mission of U.S. forces from the Kabul airport.
The time frame that we're on right now is to do that, complete that mission by August 31st.
After 7 o'clock in the morning right now in Kabul, and flights have resumed at the airport, the U.S. aiming to extract 22,000 Afghans in the coming weeks.
The Clawson School District has decided to start the year strongly recommending but not mandating masks. Tonight, the school board voted to approve the recommended mask policy, with Superintendent Tim Wilson going into an in-depth explanation of how he's using data to make decisions. A handful of parents attended tonight's meeting asking for a mask mandate.
As a parent of 2 Kenwood students, kindergarten and 4th grade, I'm reaching out to request that you update the currently proposed COVID safety protocols planned for the 21-22 school year to include a mandatory masking policy for all students, staff, and visitors.
The superintendent and board made it clear while they will be recommending but not mandating masks, that may change depending on where the COVID numbers go.
Metro Detroiters who have lakefront property have some unique problems. That often includes waterfowl. And one particular lake in Livingston County, the problem, mute swans. And as Jason Colthorpe reports, there's some pushback over their removal.
Many of the people out here on Crooked Lake in Genoa Township would like the mute swans removed. They're actually considered an invasive species by the DNR. But here's the rub. Another group has come forward, and they're raising a fuss with the township about how these swans will be removed.
That's why we're all here, because we're tired of the bad people winning, basically.
Several people showed up before the Genoa Township Trustees meeting Monday to speak for the swans that can't. Karen Stamper is with In Defense of Animals. She and others believe it's the people who are the problem. When jet skis target the swans on the lake, they have to expect them to become aggressive.
They're not really getting attacked, they're just getting chased. You know, I don't think they've ever been like jumped off of, you know, the swans ever attacked them and they've fallen off a jet ski, you know. But the DNR really doesn't investigate any of that.
Genoa Supervisor Bill Rogers says a July resolution has been blown way out of proportion. He says they didn't permit the killing of swans, only for residents to take it up with the DNR.
We're not taking a stand. It's not our opinion that all this should actually happen, but if it truly is a problem, we have to help them to eliminate that problem.
But the DNR is pretty clear on what that means. Mute swans, once caught, cannot be released back into the wild. The only option is for them to be destroyed in one of 6 approved methods, including by gas, injection, or a single shot to the head.
If somebody doesn't like something, let's get rid of it. Well, why not live with it? Let's deal with it and move on from there.
Well, and what exactly does that entail? Jason, what's next here?
Well, assuming, Devin, that these homeowners have already reached out to the DNR, it'll be up to the DNR to decide how these swans will be taken out, exactly what method they'll be removed and likely killed. And that could mean the DNR doing it themselves. Sometimes it's an outside company. We weren't able to speak to the DNR on this, but for what it's worth, the Audubon Society also notes that the mute swan has become a nuisance in several areas because of the vegetation that it eats. And biologists for decades have been calling for control of its population. Live in Livingston County tonight, Jason Cole, Local 4.
Some kind of story. All right, Jason.
Yeah, indeed. A former Detroit Lion is charged in connection to a car crash that injured his teammate and another driver.
24-year-old Alex Brown charged with operating under the influence and reckless driving causing serious injury. Accident happened Sunday morning on I-75 South, right near I-375 in Detroit. Police say Brown was intoxicated and, in fact, speeding down the wrong side of the freeway when he crashed into another car. 2 people, including his teammate, Charlie Tamiapo, were injured. Brown is expected to be arraigned tomorrow.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer announcing a $75 million investment to reduce crime across the state. The plan includes money to hire more police officers, as well as increasing the number of visiting judges to clear massive court backlogs.
There's not one solution to this complex problem. It's going to take a comprehensive plan that addresses every part of this complicated equation. We need the right solutions, not the easy ones, not the most visible ones, but the right solutions.
The governor says the $75 million would come from the American Rescue Plan.
After a weekend in the dark, power restorations continue following last week's severe storms. Last check, we had more than 20,000 DTE customers still without power. Company says they've got 3,000 crews in the field. The original target they were talking about was yesterday. Well, now the hope is that they'll have everyone back on the grid by the middle of this week. Meantime, Michigan's Attorney General Dana Nessel wants DTE and Consumers Energy to do more to help customers who've lost power.
They should just automatically be crediting people so people don't have to go through that process in the first place. But I think there's more to it than that. I really believe that there needs to be a separate fund that is established by every single one of the utilities to assist people who are displaced during the course of these storms.
Till that happens, you'll have to try to get the credit on your own. DTE and Consumers Energy customers can apply for an outage credit on our website. We've got that at clickondetroit.com.
Still ahead, a woman is rushed to the hospital after being injured while waiting in line at Cedar Point.
What happened that now has one of its most popular roller coasters shut down? Let's check in with Andrew.
And Kimberly and Devin, after some spotty showers earlier today, they're now gone, and we have mild conditions tonight. Temperatures in the 60s right now. What happens from here? We'll talk about where temperatures go, our next chance of rain, and there are 3 tropical systems I'm watching for you. All that in your weather forecast in minutes.
We're out at Novi High School this evening, a massive celebration for the robotics team. They've just clenched an award like no other. They certainly have some bragging rights. We'll tell you what they did to get this award coming up.